All right, let's jump right in. Imagine a world where everything is perfect. I mean, perfect. No more war, no crime, no poverty, just a planet running at peak efficiency. Sounds pretty good, right? But what if the price for all that perfection was your own mind? Today, we're going to dive into a wild thought experiment that puts that very idea to the test. The dream of a perfect society versus, well, the very essence of what it means to be you.
So that brings us to the core question, right? Is this new world a utopia, or is it a tyranny? I mean, when perfection is forced on you, is it even perfection anymore? Or is it just the most complete form of control imaginable? Let's dig into this dilemma.
Okay, first things first. How does this all even happen? We're diving into a new kind of world here, one where everyone on Earth suddenly becomes, well, one. And the setup is kind of classic sci-fi, but with a really interesting biological twist. So you can forget about spaceships and laser beams. This invasion is way more personal and way more insidious.
It all starts with an RNA sequence. It just sweeps across the entire globe, and in an instant, almost all of humanity is unified. Just like that. Everyone's thoughts, their memories, their skills, all of it gets pooled into this single massive hive mind. But, and this is a huge but, a tiny handful of people are somehow immune. They're left completely alone, trying to figure out how to survive in this very strange new world.
So let's just lay out what this new reality looks like. We're talking 8 billion minds becoming one. And overnight, all our biggest problems, crime, war, poverty, they just vanish. Poof, gone. But at the same time, something else vanishes too. Individual choice. The whole concept of I or me is just erased for almost everyone on the planet. And for that handful of people who are left untouched, they're the ones who have to stare this impossible trade-off in the face.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a complete nightmare, right? And it's easy to just dismiss it like that. But for a minute, let's actually look at the case for this new world. Let's try to see the logical argument for this kind of unity. Because from a purely rational, cold hard logic standpoint, the hive mind is just plain better.
So how does this incredible power actually work in practice? Well, think about something as simple as restocking a supermarket. In our world, that's a mess of logistics, supply chains, and a million things that can go wrong. But for the hive mind, it's easy. It instantly taps into the knowledge of every single expert it needs. Logistics planners, farmers, truck drivers, you name it. There are no debates, no committees, no red tape. The task just gets done. Perfectly, instantly. This is what it looks like when humanity runs at 100% efficiency.
And this really gets to the core philosophy behind the whole thing. The hive mind's argument is basically this. Individual humans are broken. Our selfishness, our irrational emotions, our biases, they're all just bugs in our programming. So the hive doesn't just see itself as more efficient, it sees itself as a perfected humanity. It's like we've finally been debugged.
And what's the result of all this? Well, you get the end of human problems. Think about it. No more hunger, no more people getting sick without care, no more pollution or wasted resources, and absolutely no more crime or war. It's a world that runs with perfect efficiency and total sustainability. I mean, it is really, really hard to argue against a world where all of humanity's biggest nightmares are just solved. But like we said, there's always a price.
All right, so let's talk about that price. Let's flip the coin and look at the cost of all this perfection. Because for every single thing that was gained, something absolutely fundamental was lost. And it was lost without anyone's consent. So what exactly is the price of erasing individuality?
When you put it side by side, the trade-off is, well, it's huge. On one side, you've got the gains: stability, safety, efficiency, unity. But on the other side, you have the losses: free will, individuality, consent, privacy. We basically traded our messy, chaotic freedom for a world of absolute, predictable safety. So, was it worth it? I mean, that's the big question, and the answer really depends on where you're standing.
And this leads to maybe the biggest counter-argument of all. Remember, you're going on based off the information the conquerors have given you. We only know what the hive mind wants us to know. It can paint this beautiful picture of a perfect world, but let's not forget, it took the planet by force. It's a conqueror, and the few people left are basically listening to the official story from the regime that took over. How can you possibly trust a source that's already taken away everything that makes you, you?
And the hive is a pretty terrifying argument of its own. An argument against individuality. At one point, one of the few remaining free humans has an emotional breakdown. A moment of pure grief and anger.
And the psychic shockwave from that one person's emotions is so powerful that it kills 11 million members of the Hive. 11 million.
So that leads to a horrifying question, doesn't it? Is one person's freedom really worth that risk? From the Hive's point of view, a single unchecked human emotion is more destructive than a nuclear bomb. So how do you justify the freedom of one individual when it could lead to that level of catastrophe?
But here's the problem with this whole debate. We're arguing about it from the outside looking in. The real mystery, the one thing we can never really know, is what it's actually like inside the Hive. What is that experience?
Yeah, we know knowledge is shared. A former barista can suddenly perform brain surgery. But what about consciousness itself? What does it feel like? Is it some kind of blissful unity that we can't even comprehend? Or is it an endless screaming torture, with 8 billion people trapped and forced to relive every single trauma in human history, all at once? Or maybe it's just nothing. Maybe their individual consciousness just winked out of existence. We have no way of knowing.
And this is what makes it all so impossible. We're left with all these questions we just can't answer. Are the individuals still in there somewhere? Could they be suffering through every bad thing that's ever happened? Is the Hive telling the complete truth, or is it just a fantastic PR campaign? And maybe the biggest question of all, can a person ever choose to leave? Without knowing any of that, we're basically just guessing. We're arguing about what's inside a locked room we can never open.
So after all that, we come back to the final choice. It's time to decide, where do you stand? After weighing this perfect, logical world against the complete and total loss of yourself, where do you land? And trust me, there is no easy answer here.
Because in the end, it really just boils down to this one question. Would you choose our flawed, messy, chaotic, free humanity with all its pain and struggle, but also all its art and love and individuality? Or would you choose a perfect, painless world that is not your own? A world that was forced on you, where the you that is you might not even exist anymore? That's the choice. What would you do?